Allen, here. Clerk Reed,
Here.
trustee Lopez Jones, trustee Rios, trustee Gonzalez, student representative Claval. Here. Yeah. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. I know. I know. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. District mission statement. At Calistoga, we empower students to graduate with respect, empathy, integrity, and the skills needed for success in life and work. We provide a supportive, inclusive environment where students gain essential academic knowledge, critical thinking abilities, and real-world skills. Our goal is to ensure all students feel a sense of belonging, are prepared for future opportunities, and graduate with pride, resilience, and a passion for lifelong learning. 5.1, public business from the floor, non-agenda items. This portion of the meeting allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item regarding board business that is not on the agenda. Without taking action or entering into a dialogue with the public, board members may briefly respond to statements made or ask clarifying questions about topics posed by the public. Your matter may be referred to administration. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each.
We have a public comment from Eric Heights regarding the Duffy tournament.
Oh, sorry your microphone isn't on.
Okay, is that better? Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the continued support of the athletic department and the sports program. We're very lucky to have the facilities we have and that are improving all the time. I'm grateful for that, as well as covering the costs of officiating and uniforms and coach stipends and all that kind of thing. It's a wonderful situation we're in here, and I hope our kids appreciate how good they have it. That being said, we have our annual, I counted back, I started here in 94, and that's when I think 95 was the first year of the official Gene Duffy tournament that we've been calling it ever since. So it's been a long time, over 30 years now, or about 30 years. And we're again having 12 teams visiting us this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So there'll be a total of 18 games happening over those 3 days. And schools as far away as South Fork up in Miranda, as well as some local schools. St. Helena will be here, and a lot of the Sonoma County schools and a couple Lake County schools as well. I would like to invite all of you to attend. We will be charging admission. This is the only one of 2 times during the entire year that we charge admission for activities on our athletic program. It's our main fundraiser for the winter sports, and the gate receipts that we receive, we share with the teams that are our winter basketball for Calistoga here. And so they have that budget money to provide for tournaments and to provide for sweaters and things like that for the players. So I have some tournament pass bracelets that will allow you to get into any of the 3 days. So I'll share these with Dr. Pittman, and she can share them with the trustees that are interested, as well as the cabinet and the board or the administration that might want to attend as well. So this will get you in the door free to come and see how hard the kids are working and support our program. So thank you again.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, next we're going to move to 6.1, nominations and appointing the governing board for president 2026. Can I have a motion? Would someone like to nominate?
I would like to nominate Matt Reed for governing board president for 2026.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yay. So do we switch now?
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. I don't want to be drunk with power trying to.
You got to finish all of six.
Unnecessarily hold on to my seat. 6.2, consider nominations and appoint governing board clerk for 2026. I would like to nominate Miss Rios.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yay! Establish dates and times of meetings. Trustees will discuss the proposed meeting dates for the 2026 calendar year and then approve the dates.
So these dates reflect the conversation that we had at the November board meeting. Again, I just want to call out a couple of non-normal board meeting dates that we have. So January 20th is a Tuesday because it follows Martin Luther King Day. March 9th, we moved back a week since March 2nd is early and we have our second interim. And so that allows us a little bit more time to present the second interim. April 13th is an off date because of spring break because we're off the week before. June, we have 2 meetings so that we can have our public hearings for the budget as well as the LCAP, and then we adopt at the second meeting. July, we do not have a meeting. August, the 3rd is if there's a major change in the state budget. And if there isn't, then we won't hold the 45-day meeting and we'll have it on August 17th due to waiting until school actually starts so we can all be back in session before we have our first board meeting of the school year. September is off because of Labor Day. It sounds like they're all off. And then we're back on track. And then December is December 14th because it's an election year. And so we have to have it after the second Friday in December to account for those possible people who had to run for seat to be certified by the elections office.
April 13th, isn't that coast to coast?
Oh, that's what I was.
It is coast to coast. So would you like a different date in April?
Getting so late then. Do we do that Friday before? Because we don't want to push it to the following week, then we're so close into May.
Correct.
We would get back on a Wednesday.
Oh, but then Friday's spring break.
Oh, that's the week.
Oh.
Oh, you mean Friday before?
Mhm.
We could do it at the end of March instead of the beginning of April and do it on March, what is that, March 30th?
Yeah.
30th would be the.
We could do it on March 30th and that could be considered our April board meeting.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody?
That's the week before spring break, correct?
Correct. So we're still in session.
So we're doing the Monday before, right?
The Monday, yeah, to still keep it on
Okay.
Monday.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. CJUSD Board Governance Handbook.
There's been no changes other than I'll make the change for, well, this is actually a review and the change will change who sits as president and clerk. And I'll bring it back in January. for
The mission
adoption.
statement.
And the
That was
mission
our old
statement.
mission
Okay.
statement.
So I need to update the mission statement.
That was all I noticed.
Okay.
All right. 6.5, newly appointed board members take their seats. Oh, do we need to do anything on the,
Nope, you just need to
Okay.
change seats.
but 6.4, we don't?
No.
Okay. Probably won't make as many errors as I do.
The power.
All right, that brings us to item 7, reports, and 7.1 is our student representative, Itzia Enriquez.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see you all again. For November, we had a week filled with spirit days and parades, like always. Then we transitioned into our athletic sports senior night featuring for the soccer boys and girls along with the volleyball teams. We then concluded with the football games and cheer senior night. We were fortunate enough to get free tickets for the circus for our girls soccer team to have a team bonding experience before Thanksgiving break. We have completed PSAT and SAT testing, and welcoming December, we have a month filled with reflection and community. As we wrap up the year, I had the opportunity to attend a student board meeting where we discussed the importance of LCAP testing. I learned that three of the standards are currently in the orange, showing a clear need for improvement in several areas, especially in attendance. Over winter break, I plan on focusing on ways we can support us and strengthen their outcomes coming forward. For our underclassmen, Vanessa Cortez and Hania Cortez will be studying abroad and have been selected out of the entire sophomore class. Looking forward, we have Drama Club, Folklorico, the DJ Club, and all offering fun and creative ways to connect on campus. Now to share more about our ASB activities, I'd like to introduce Liliana Hernandez and Karen Capel.
Hi, my name is Lily Hernandez, and I, along with your local trust student rep, Itzia, am an ASB president, and I'm here to present to you a little bit about our December activities. I'm also here with.
My name is Karen Capo, and I'm just an ASB student. Okay, so for this, we don't do a lot of spirit weeks because it's kind of time consuming, but for this December, we wanted to do a spirit week and we started today. So on Monday was Grinch versus Santa, and then Tuesday is like sparkly stuff, and then on Wednesday, we have Flannel Day, and then Thursday we have Disney Day, and then Friday we have, what does that say? Oh, comfy day. And then, yeah, it's just a way to kind of like connect everyone and just like have a fun time, especially during like this season.
Moving forward, we have decided to bring back something that I personally did in the 8th grade for junior high, which is a positivity wildcat tree that we're going to put in the quad. This tree is going to be filled with ornaments which have positive comments from the students, which we will have an ornament making event during lunch. We got a tree donated kindly by our local tree farm from Bud Pokini, who he will be delivering that today. And then we're going to be doing that ornament decoration activity during lunch on Thursday and decorating it as well. It's just a fun way to promote positivity on campus, especially going into finals week, which is very stressful for many students. We have also decided that as a class, we're going to be adopting angel trees. If you don't know what an angel tree is, it's some local stores decide to get trees and they have students who are in need put kind of gifts they would like to ask Santa for, and certain people go in and buy these presents for them and then get them sent to them anonymously. So we have decided to adopt 4 as a class for the holiday season just to give back to the community and promote some spirit and some spirit of holiday giving back during the season.
Yeah. So basically, like for example, we done like Thanksgiving grams, and then for December we will do candy grams. Basically, it's a little bag of like candy and like a little. I think we're gonna add a cup, and then we're gonna also do like a bear or something. But it's just to like a way to appreciate others and also to like have fun in school.
We are also going to be participating in an ASB Secret Santa just to do some team bonding, but for the ASB class, we spent a lot of time together planning all the stuff for like dances, finals week. So we want to make sure we're connected so we can communicate when it comes to these things. I think building trust among each other is very important, and doing fun little things like this always builds that among us. Thank you so much for listening today. We appreciate all the work you do in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you for that very exciting and illuminating report.
I would also like to add, so first, thank you. I went to ASB, and while we have our standing board report, They're going to be coming periodically, sending other members to talk about what their plans are for the month as we move forward. And any support they might come with an ask of the board as well. They didn't today. They just came with a thank you, but they have the opportunity to come with an ask from you in terms of what they need from you to help support the work they're doing as well. I also brought up last month that we were going to reach out to junior high. And so we have two representatives here tonight, Johan Mendoza Sanchez and Armando Cortez. And do you have a few words you'd like to say? No. Okay. So they are here to observe and see how the presentation went. And then next month they will give a speech or give an update on what's going on in junior high. So welcome to the team.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Oh, wow. Oh, there we go. Speaking on junior high, most of the activities that we do for high school ASB, meaning like the spirit days and all that, they also connect to the junior high, so we could do them all together. That's just usually like more school spirits. Yeah.
Question, you said there were 2 students that were selected to study abroad. Do they know where they're going yet?
I believe they get to pick. That's
Okay.
what Cynthia had told me since her sister's going.
Okay.
But I believe Vanessa picked Tokyo, Greece, and Spain.
Okay.
They still don't know where
They
they're
still
going
don't
quite
know
yet.
yet. Okay.
They've submitted their suggestions of
Okay.
where they'd like to go,
Okay.
but then they need to find the host family.
Right, exactly. Okay, great.
Originally, it was just going to be one student, but then 2 ended up going, which is even cooler.
Great.
So yeah,
Awesome.
pretty cool.
Thank you.
I actually asked that. So originally, it was going to be one student that, and our local Rotary supports that, but another local Rotary, and I don't want to say the name because I don't want to get it wrong, does not have a student from their community. And so they have offered to fund for our second person.
Oh, that's
So that we can send, because there were such highly qualified candidates. And so it's exciting that we're able to send 2, because in the past, we've always only sent 1,
great.
including one of right here.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, well, thank you, Itzia. 7.2 Calistoga Associated Teachers. Matthew Udinius, CAT President, will provide a report to the board on new and ongoing topics pertaining to the district and the association.
Thank you. Calistoga Associate Teachers don't have much to report right now. We are going to be sunshining our negotiations later on the agenda today, but I'm excited that we got some fleece jackets to match our t-shirts. So that's what I'm wearing right now. I just showed up for school today. So that's the only thing to report until we sunshine our bargaining. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. 7.3 Classified School Employees Association.
No report.
Okay. 7.4 Calistoga Elementary School Principal, Ms. Lamar.
All right, good evening, everyone. For LCAP goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students. During our December staff meeting, we took time to get feedback on our we have an adjunct duty called mathematics leadership. And we really have started from fundamentals, since there have been changes in the overall framework, which is the suggested manner to support the Common Core standards in math. And so we are starting with designing a vision statement. I'm sorry. Okay. We started with a vision statement that was focused on student-centered outcomes. And then we took that vision statement, we divided it into smaller parts. And then we spent a considerable amount of time at our staff meeting getting feedback on it in terms of language, and also at, what it looks like in terms of a student outcome. And we developed this vision statement using the framework, AI support, and also committee feedback on how we wanted it to look. So now what we're going to do is, after we went through that experience and have gotten feedback, we're now going to get back together as a committee and ultimately polish up that vision statement. And from there, we're going to use that vision statement to support our work in both our walkthroughs and our coaching.
So it was, we are getting support through Napa County Office of Education. And they have been coming twice a month, once to do walkthroughs and then the other to do coaching. So we're really excited about that partnership. For LCAP goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. Today we had our kindergarten and TK concert, and we have divided them out, and it was a full house. I have to say, at one point, a teacher and I looked at each other, and at the same time, we're like, "Oh, this is so cute," because they just were all dressed up, and you have, some of the kids are like doing their moves in the front with the music. So it was very nice to see. And then this week, we will also have our grades 1 through 3. We're calling it a music activity. It's called Cante Compare, which is sing and share. This is going to be a community event where families and students can join together in singing. We're going to also have other activities like we're going to have some of our groups out selling food for fundraising. We're also going to have opportunity to build little mini piñatas, and I think the possibility of also practicing using a dreidel. So those are coming together, and it is going to be a different approach for those grade levels. We also have staff who are going to be helping to play along with instruments that they know as well. And then we also have a Spirit Week for Calistoga Elementary. So on Monday, the last week of school before winter break, Monday is going to be anything but a backpack. So get creative out there. Tuesday is designated as Twin Day. Wednesday is Holiday Colors. Thursday is Sports Jersey Day. And Friday is, as you guys have comfy clothes over at the junior senior high, they just labeled it Pajama Day and went with it. So we are looking forward to those events as we wind down 2025. And then with increasing parent engagement and enhancing communication. Prior to Thanksgiving break, we had an initial meeting regarding the challenges posed with pickup and drop off at Calistoga Elementary School. We engaged in a solutions-based conversation regarding the needs around CES. And since that conversation, we've had increased patrolling at CES, both in front of the school and on Berry and Cedar Streets. And this has made a difference in driver behavior. In fact, our crossing guard who is on Cedar and Berry Street immediately commented to me of, wow, we're getting a lot more people slowing down. We're getting more people respecting the stop sign. And so I just wanted to share with you how supported that she felt with those changes. Unfortunately, our parent engagement in November didn't have great turnout. So again, we're going to do that again in December to get, more feedback to be able to present, to come up with some solutions to the situation occurring on Berry Street. So that is my report for tonight. Are there any questions?
One note on the meeting regarding drop off in front of CES. I thought it was really beneficial to have 4 other parents there who do a combination of walking their kids to school and driving to get kind of perspectives from both sides. And I do appreciate the quick response from our local police department to support our efforts. And I look forward to continuing working with the city to improve it permanently. So thank you for that.
Thank you. 7.5, Calistoga Junior Senior High School Principal, Ms. Baldonero.
Good evening, everyone. In regards to LCAP Goal 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students, the first semester is quickly coming to an end with final exam days occurring next week, Tuesday through Friday, December 16th through 19th. Students have been encouraged to use their flex time on Thursdays to get additional support in classes that need more attention or follow-up. Teachers have also targeted certain students who need additional support to attend their flex time on Thursdays. During our leadership and PLT meetings, Staff have engaged in conversations about the overall goal of CAPvisory and determining how to best support students during this 2 times a week, 30-minute period. Obviously not making any changes for this school year, but really trying to think about long-term and any changes that we want would need to be solidified by the end of this year so that we're ready to go next school year. As we continue our efforts to implement focused note-taking school-wide, CJSHS has created a survey for teachers to complete to host other teachers while they demonstrate one of the FNT steps, or they can request to visit a colleague who is engaged in FNT with their class. The goal is to provide support and mentorship around purposeful note-taking school-wide. After winter break, CJSHS will launch into the planning of the course selection process, which includes the master schedule for the 26-27 school year. We created the dates today and will be pretty much off to the races right after the new year since we come back mid-January. In regards to LCAP Goal 2, provide a safe, healthy, and positive school environment, CJSHS continues to offer extracurricular activities with our Proposition 28 funds, including DJ sound production, folklorico dance, hip-hop dance, drama, and soon guitar and ceramics. We continue to reach out to individuals in the community with specialized knowledge and experience with arts education. Students have been attending these workshops after school and gaining exposure, practice, and new skill sets with these offerings. CJSHS plans to continue to offer these unique learning opportunities for our students as well as expand what we currently have. Prior to winter break, the leadership classes have organized a Spirit Week, which thank you, ETF, for sharing all of the fun themed dress-up days. I did wear a Grinch shirt today. Tomorrow will be the Twinkle Sparkly Day as shared, then Flannel Disney, and then Comfy Cozy Day. These theme days do help build a positive, safe community on campus, and we encourage all students and staff to participate in the fun. With the holiday season here, the Interact Club has organized a canned dry food drive on campus to help support our local community members. The students in Interact have reached out to all of the classroom teachers, created messaging for students, and coordinated a way to donate all the cans, that should read cans and dry goods to the local food bank, which will support our larger Calistoga community. It is a CAPvisory competition, and so they are trying to see which CAPvisory can bring in the most canned/dry goods. In regards to LCAP Goal 3, increased parent engagement and enhanced communication, CJSHS has concluded all fall sports and will be hosting several home high school basketball games from December through February, and we invite all students, parents, and local community to attend. We have invited several different parent groups to help support the food sales at these games. CJSHS, as Mr. Height shared, will also be hosting the annual Gene Duffy basketball tournament this weekend, and we will have food sales at all of those events. I do want to add 2 other things that I did not include in my written report. Friday night was a beautiful event at the Brandon Center for the tree lighting. It was amazing to see both the elementary students and our junior and senior high kids in the performing arts space. In particular, for me, I really enjoyed watching them. I felt like the setting was more intimate and the sound was amazing. So the sound in that space, if you haven't heard it, it sounded beautiful. So I do think some of the students were maybe surprised to hear how beautiful it sounded in that space. And so I am excited to attend more concerts there. And then while I was unable to attend the tractor parade on Saturday, I did hear our band won first place. So congratulations to our junior high band. I heard there were a few dancing elves in the background, at the end, one who may be present here tonight. So thank you for the dancing elves and our band and Ms. Peterson for organizing and putting that all together. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 7.6, Director of Educational Services and Human Resources, Michael.
Okay, good evening. On this final meeting of 2005. Several updates. 25. What I say?
2005.
Wow. Where were we all in 2005? Thinking back. Were you a student? That's funny. All right. So the updates, we have an update for you on after school Spanish instruction at the elementary school. That's something we've talked about here with the board. We are making progress. We've identified a Spanish instructor who can begin in January. They are a Spanish instructor at the Brandon Center, which is kind of a nice connection there. Nicole's in the process of reaching out to families to determine interest. And then we're working with the teacher to work on what the model will look like. We'll be serving grades 1 through 6, and that's a really big age span. So probably not all in one group. So what are the groupings going to be? How often are they going to meet? Are we going to do like 6 or 8 week chunks, or, what's the model? But I think we're set for a January start date. So thank you to the board for your patience as we've kind of gone through the process, but I think we're getting there. Also share with you tonight, big news on math textbooks. The CDE, State Board of Education, they've approved a new list of approved textbooks based on or curriculum tools based on the new math framework. This is the first time since 2014 that we've seen a list of books approved. So that means that we in most districts are operating with that curriculum we purchased soon after 2014. And I think there's universal probably agreement on this from our teachers, especially the elementary school, that we would benefit from new and improved curriculum. So maybe unfortunately, the approach the CDE took was to approve lots of programs, like over 40 programs, which is great. It gives everybody options, but that puts the job on us to say, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to whittle that down? So we're working closely with our coaches from Napa County Office of Education, our UC Davis math coach, trying to refine that list based on a rubric that we develop with staff feedback to about 8 to 12 options. And then our staff, our district math adoption team, will work on March 2nd and April 22nd to select hopefully 2 curriculum tools to pilot in the fall of next school year. The California dashboard was released. That's big news. That means we've all got a lot of data to look at to evaluate our schools, our districts, the state. I'll do a report later tonight, but I did want to share, there was a press release from the CDE titled California Dashboard Release, California Students Show Significant Gains in Graduation Rate, College Career Readiness, Chronic Absenteeism, and Modest Progress in Academic Achievement. So we do see statewide this post-COVID rebound continues. I thought it was noteworthy that in the press release, a number of school districts were called out by name for large gains. One of those is Healdsburg Joint Unified School District, which is noteworthy because they're a neighbor to us in Sonoma County, and they're really quite similar. Healdsburg has a similar size to us and a similar student demographic. Chris Vandenheuvel, their superintendent, was asked what he attributed their success to, and his response was a commitment to professional learning communities focused on instruction, and a commitment to social emotional learning and student counseling to remove barriers from student learning. And that was really good to hear because those are core components of what we do in our program. So I think when you say, another district is having success, what are you doing? And then they say, we're doing the same things that Calistoga is doing. That's encouraging. And then I think lastly tonight, I'll share with you that this time of year, at kind of the end of the year, is an exciting time in terms of watching what the state legislature is going to do. We have an activist state legislature. So every year they pass laws that are impactful across the state and to education. So we're pretty attentive to this end of the year and what it's going to mean for us, what it's going to mean for our staff, what it's going to mean for our students. And this year, the legislature considered 3,000 bills. They sent 1,000 bills to the governor for signature, and he signed 800 of them. It's a lot, right? I'm looking at 25 laws here for education that are pretty darn impactful. And I'm not going to go through all 25 with you, but I will cover some of the big bucket, big ticket items, the things that I think are impactful. We have 4 laws that are related to immigration, and these are all important to make sure that our families and our students know that schools are a safe place for students to be. Our job is to educate students and keep them safe. And these laws really support that. The prohibition on immigration officers on campus without ID and a warrant or subpoena or court order, a prohibition on the release of student records without parent consent or a court order, a requirement for districts to notify staff, parents and guardians if and when immigration officials are on campus, requirement to post a Know Your Rights poster, and also a change to the caregiver status law And there were iterations of this, but where it ended up was any blood relative can now be a caregiver. So should a child's parent be deported and the family wants that child to remain in the United States, it's no longer this narrow list of relatives, it's any blood relative, and they've made the documentation process easier for proving your right to caregiver status. There were a number of laws on child safety. One that's significant is last year there was a law that requires for certificated hiring, so for teachers, that those teachers have to tell us every school they've ever worked at, and that we now have to check with every school to make sure that there was no misconduct. They've now mirrored that law for classified staff. So any classified staff that is hired, we have that same process. And that's really important, especially for classified staff. There is no state database that lists misconduct. That could be coming with this law, but what definitely is coming is this new practice. Also, new requirements for volunteers. And we have a lot of volunteers. We have almost 400 volunteers. So that's maybe 3 times as many volunteers as school staff. And we have a process, right, to go through vetting those folks. And we actually go above and beyond what most districts do in terms of we have all volunteers are fingerprinted and background checked. This new law will require that volunteers who may be alone with children, who's most volunteers, must take a mandated reporter and sexual prevention training on an annual basis. That's a good thing. It is also a logistical puzzle for us to solve as we figure out how do we do that? How do we do it efficiently? What we don't want to have is a delay in the process so that we can't get volunteers to go on trips with kids. So we're working on that. Also a law that will remove ultra-processed foods from cafeterias starting in 2028 and finalizing in 2035. Also, a significant law on the admittance to CSUs, California State University schools. Any student who finishes their high school career with their A to G coursework completed at a 2.5 GPA or better will be deemed automatically eligible for admittance at a CSU. 16 of 23 campuses are participating beginning in the fall of 2027, including Sonoma State University, San Francisco State, CSU East Bay. Students will still need to apply, but this does a lot of things, including relieving kind of the stress that goes along with applying for college. If you have your A to G complete with 2.5 or better, which is the majority of our kids, you know you have a place in college. And then lastly, I got a lot more, but last one I'll share with you is new board member trainings. Mandated reporters, sexual abuse prevention will now be required. Education governance, including school finance, will be required. This is in addition to the 2022 law requiring ethics training by January of 2026. So even the board is not immune to the long reach of the state legislature. I will say that all of these laws, they do require us to adjust, but they're all good things. These are all things that are in the best interest of kids and schools. So they're good laws across the board, but they do require some work for us to make sure that we do what's required to implement them and that we're in compliance. And that's my report for tonight.
Any questions? Okay, well, thank you, Michael. Next we have, next we have 7.7, Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. So for my report, I have a couple things I want to update. One is today I spent the day working with our district impact team, which is a new iteration of our data leadership team, which started probably 8 to 9 years ago, working in conjunction with Napa County Office of Ed under our first iteration of differentiated assistance. And we have grown and shifted over the last 8 to 9 years. And so this year we're narrowing our focus. And so we've reframed ourselves as a district impact team, thinking about the data that we collect, diving deep into the dashboard, looking at our LCAP, what impact does that have overall in terms of student outcomes and growth within our school. And so today was our first day out of our 3 release days, and I think it went pretty well, and we'll push out the takeaways tomorrow. But I'm pretty excited about the work that team is doing and what we're doing moving forward. Last week, I was in Washington, D.C. at the beginning of the week for the League of Innovative Schools and Digital Promise, and we were on the Hill presenting to our legislators nationally. So we were partnered with other school districts nationwide, talking to our legislators about the importance of funding research and design, specifically in education, and that this really is a bipartisan issue. We want all of our students to do better. And so we should be coming together to support the work that occurs in our schools, and know that there are really bright spots across our nation, and the federal government should be in a place where they can bring together those bright spots so that we can learn from them and give schools, especially like small rural schools, the opportunity to try different things and to know that they have the flexibility to try things that work in their community. Because as we know, schools like Calistoga are very different from the San Franciscos and the LA Unifieds. And so we should be given some sort of freedom to try things out. But the federal government should be supporting the research around quality research-based educational practices. So it's pretty exciting to be there and have those conversations. Tomorrow is a big day at the elementary school. We are presenting at lunch to the students what their new playground structure will look like and the 3 options of colors that they get to vote on to decide what their play structures will look like. So come Wednesday, we'll know what the color palette is for our new playground. These were somewhat already mentioned, our music performances. December is known for holiday music, and it's no different in Calistoga with our music performers. And so, as was already mentioned, the tree lighting at the Brannon Center on Friday was a pretty amazing experience, to what Ms. Baldenegro said, to have the students actually be in a performing arts space. We know we have quality performers and they do beautiful work, but to see it on their faces, to see the difference about how their music sounds from going to the big gym to the Brannon Center. And then I just have to tell the story that Ms. Baldernego shared, that she was there when they were warming up and there were already audience members and they were warming up, and then they finished and they got a round of applause and the students were like, that was just the warm up. Yes, but you're that good. So it's exciting to see them and to elevate their experience in an environment like that. Again, also shared, they were in the float in the annual tractor parade. There were 3 youth competitors and our team took first place yet again. So we're pretty excited about that. And then this Wednesday is the junior senior high school winter concert, which will also be at the Brannon Center. And then Thursday is the 1 through 3. So that was already mentioned. But if you haven't had an opportunity to see our students perform at the Brannon Center, please come on Wednesday at 6 p.m. I think it's at 6 p.m. I'll confirm the time. That's this Wednesday, 2 days from now. Tomorrow, a team of us will be in Napa County Office of Ed working on our community schools partnership meeting. And the focus for tomorrow will be on our parent partnerships. And so we're bringing team members that work directly with our families to think about how we can elevate the work that we do with our families and to build our partnerships, specifically around our goal number 3. And then our annual winter staff meeting is Thursday, December 18th at 3:45 at the Inn. And you are all invited to join us as we celebrate the close of 2025 and all the good work that our schools have done serving our students and our families. And that's my report.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Item 8, consent agenda, which requires a roll call vote. 8.1, consent agenda protocol. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, the audience, or staff request specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Okay, so the recommended action is request to approve the consent agenda as presented. Okay, and so all in favor? And this requires a roll call vote. So President Reed, aye. Clerk Rios? Trustee Lopez Jones, absent. Trustee Rothberg Allen? Trustee Gonzalez? And Student Representative Enriquez. Thank you.
Before we move on, I do want to call out one item that you just approved, and that was under the consent items, our donation from the Calistoga Education Foundation. Our president is here to thank them for the 24-25 school year. They awarded $79,545.13.
Thank you very much.
And I did want to call it out just because, you know, they have been supporting the schools in our community for 30, almost 40 years. Almost 40 years. And we really couldn't provide some of the experiences without the partnership of our Ed Foundation. And so it's really exciting to know that they are still a partner with us and are actively giving to our students for experiences that we wouldn't normally ever be able to provide. So thank you.
Okay, item 9, information and discussion. 9.1, the CSBA Annual Education Conference. The Board of Trustees and the Superintendent will report on and discuss their experiences at the Annual Education Conference, which took place at the beginning of December. Anyone want to share? Thank you.
I really enjoy this conference. I think it's such a great opportunity for the board to be together and to see what other districts are doing. And every year that I've gone, I've been reminded of what a special place Calistoga is. And the board members that I work with are just all so great. And I think it's really lucky for us in this community that the board is so aligned on working together. And that's not true in every district. And I really don't want to take that for granted. So I really appreciate everyone that I work with here, staff, board, teachers, everybody. It's a great community, and we're so lucky to be able to serve this community.
Thank you.
A majority of the talks that I went to at the conference were actually focused on student voice and the importance of student and teacher relationships. And it was really great because I'd say about 75% of the talks I went to were actually led by student board members that were there talking about different policies and changes that they helped implement in their own district. And so it kind of reaffirmed my commitment to emphasizing the student voice. So I'll probably be working with you closely in the future on how we can strengthen your voice here at the board and show your full support. And I loved having the ASB representatives here talking about school spirit and how important that is. And it's kind of just renewed my interest in emphasizing how important the students here are in our district and that you're the whole reason we're here. So you're pretty important, and I'm going to listen to you even more.
Thank you, Laurel. Rudy, do you want to?
It's also very interesting to see actions about y'all about some important stuff. That's something that in conversations. Yeah, whatever you use.
Thanks, Rudy. And I would agree with everything that's been said. I think it's a great, I really value the conference, and I think it's wonderful that the district sees fit to send us each year because it's a great opportunity to learn. While every district is different, many of the issues that we face are the same, and it's a great opportunity to see and learn how other districts are responding and get ideas. Many of the talks that I attended had to do with advocacy, and I think you know, as both the state and federal funding grows ever less certain, you know, we need to be speaking up and demanding what we need for our students. So I think I got some tools to help do that. So, yeah.
Before I speak, I just want to add that our student board member, as well as our executive assistant, also attended. So I'd like them to share their experience as well.
But I think it was great. It was super fun. I definitely got to see how other district works. For example, LA, of course, has a bigger population, so they have way much more conflicts. I got a lot of comments and support from them just to like fix some of the, because they made us go through our LCAP scores. So like just how to help students with attendance or like with grades, with math, with English, whatever it was. I got really good feedback, and it was really fun being able to speak up and represent Calistoga since it's a really small school. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Great.
All right. There you go. All righty. So for me, it was also a really helpful experience to be there. One big thing was like networking with other executive assistants. I got to meet many of them, and that was really nice because now when I have questions, I know who I can ask, and that was just really nice. Especially too, I think being in a room with so many executive assistants, it made it a really like helpful experience in the sense where we were able to ask our questions to legal counsel, and there was questions that I had not thought about asking, and all of the things we learned from them was very helpful in my role. And then just learning tips from other executive assistants that have been in this role for many years on how to better support our superintendent was also really helpful. Thank you for sending me out there.
And I just want to thank each of you, including Board Member Indira Lopez-Jones, who's not here tonight. The fact that all 5 of you go and you're committed to learning and you're committed to having a strong governance team so that we can run the best schools that we possibly can. Not every district sends all of their board members, and I think it's a testament to your commitment to serving your students and your families. And so I just want to thank you for being there to support me and support our schools.
Okay, well, thank you. 9.2, district transfer plan, data. Dr. Pittman.
So you had requested some information regarding our students that leave us. And so there's different pieces of data that we were able to pull to share with you. And some of it doesn't necessarily align. And the reason being is that most of our students who leave us go to St. Helena. Of this school year, 37 students have left us, but for a variety of reasons. Of those 37 students that were with us last year that have left us this year, only 12 still live in Calistoga. The rest have moved out of the area. And of those 12, 4 are going to St. Helena, 4 are going to charter schools, and 4 have chosen to do online schools. One of the pieces of information that I did want to share, though, is that if a student or family moves into our community and their students never come here, we don't know who those families are. So there are families that might go to the Montessori and in preschool and kindergarten and then transfer to St. Helena. And so all we know is a number. So for example, St. Helena has 71 students that have a Calistoga address in this current school year, of which 13 are enrolled in K through 2, 13 are enrolled 3 through 5, 22 are enrolled 6 through 8, and 23 are enrolled 9 through 12. And so some of those might be district of choice. Some of those might be they are district of choice, but they never came to us, so we wouldn't really know. And we don't have a way of actually getting a hold of them. But one of the things that I do want to comment on that is going to be a change for St. Helena next year is they have decided to move away from the district of choice. And so they are now starting with the 26-27 school year, it will be an inter-district transfer agreement. So they have to fill out paperwork from us, and then St. Helena has to approve it. And they can approve it or deny it based on enrollment, based on a variety of factors. So that actually might change our numbers, but we aren't going to know until we move forward. So I do think that there's still work for us to do in terms of asking our families, whether it's anonymously or one-on-one, on what's the reason why they're pulling their students if they had already been here, so that we can figure out if there's something that we can do differently. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's just about a bigger school. It might be about a program that St. Helena has that we don't. But it might be something else that we might need to take a look at to see if it's something that we can improve.
Question. My question is around the current students who are attending that were already approved. Do they also have to apply starting next year, or is it grandfathered in?
All current district of choice students will be grandfathered in.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that, though, in terms of siblings. So that might be a different answer, but I can find that out for future meetings. But if they have already been accepted as district of choice, my understanding is they will be grandfathered in.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you for providing that data. I think my question kind of lays around the reason why, now that we have the numbers. And if you were in, an LA County school, those numbers would seem very minuscule. For Calistoga, for me personally, I won't speak for my fellow board members, but that's a large percentage.
Yeah.
Specifically when you break it up by the age groups. So if we could, I, off the top of my head right now, don't know how we can find out the information, the reason why. But I think that's really important for our own accountability, and how we can help prevent that for happening for future students. Because we really do want to serve our community and try our best to serve the students that live within our district. So if there is a way that we could dive a little bit deeper in that information and really find out why, because they're the whole reason we're here and they obviously left for a reason. So I think that having discussions and getting information from them will be very beneficial for us, and how we can improve in those regards in the future. So if we could do that, I would appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. 9.3, board policies and administrative regulations, first reading. Dr. Pittman.
So the first readings, these are updates that are related to changes in law. There are board policy 1114. It was included by accident. So we're not looking at that one. But I didn't want to pull it since I didn't pull it in time. So I'm telling you right now, we're not looking at it. But it's just, again, changes to law. And this is the first reading and we'll bring them back, next month.
Okay. 10.1, California dashboard. Michael.
Okay, we're going to present on the California dashboard tonight. This is, I think, a month earlier than we usually do this presentation. If we could go back one slide. Is that me? 1 second. I'm going to turn this on. All right. So in the bottom right, and Cynthia, I don't know if you can move that little zoom. Yeah. So in the bottom right, you see the release dates of the dashboard, and the state has moved those up pretty much every year. And this year it was November 15th. That allows us to do this presentation in December. Next year it will move to October 15th. So maybe we can do this presentation in November. That will be the final date change. So October 15th is intended to be the permanent date moving forward. Oh, buddy. All right. Okay. We do this every year, but I think it's important to go over what is the dashboard and how it functions, as a reminder for the board, for the public. It's the public-facing report on school performance. It's the most accessible, user-friendly way to view how your school is doing, how your district is doing, how other districts and schools are doing. It uses this color wheel at the bottom. So lowest performance being in red, highest performance being in blue. And it gets there by looking at two things, by looking at status, which is like achievement, what percentage of students graduated. And then it also looks at change. So how did that change from last year? So it tries to meet schools to some degree where they're at, not just how did you perform, but are you improving? I think it is noteworthy to think that this look back period for change is 1 year. It's not a multi-year look back. So you're just looking at last year. So you may have had multi-year growth or decline that doesn't get captured. So there is some element of change, but not longitudinal. the dashboard looks at a lot of things, a lot of categories, and we could put them into these kind of overarching categories of academic performance, student engagement, climate, and then we do some work on local indicators that I'll talk about. But it's intended to give this very holistic view of understanding how your school is performing. In the old days, we just looked at English and math proficiency. We're well past that, and this is a good approach to understand that how a school is performing isn't just math and English tests, and how students are performing. And student success isn't just success on a test. There's a lot to look at, and we'll go over that tonight. Oh, I wanted to share one thing. The science indicator, it's got that that funky yellow color there. So science is a new indicator as of last year. It's the second year, so we have change. We can get a color wheel, but it is for informational purposes only. It's not used for accountability. So the state doesn't say, this is a real area of weakness. We need to talk about helping you improve this area. Science isn't included in that accountability model. It's just there for information only. English and math, we use the SBAC that our students take. It's the same test that's used in 15 states. Science is a unique test to California. So we'll get some data on it, but I just wanted to point out that it is different than the other indicators. Okay, the dashboard also looks at student subgroups. What you see here are Calistoga's subgroups. And there are a lot more that are out there. There are 14 or so subgroups, but these are the ones that we have in Calistoga. And so what the dashboard is trying to do is say, let's look at how your students are doing in attendance, but let's look at all your students by subgroup. If you're performing well, are you performing well for all students, or is there a student group you really need to continue to focus on? So whenever we have 11 or more students in a subgroup that's in a metric, you'll see their performance, and I'll share some of the student level performance tonight. Before we get into the different categories, I just want to share a little bit about what this presentation is and what it isn't. Tonight, we're going to look at understanding our dashboard performance. We're not going to look at action steps. We're not going to look at how are we approaching these things. That's contained in our LCAP report. And also point out that this is a district level report tonight. And we're going to get some good data from it, some good information for you. There is also a school report for Calistoga Elementary School and the junior senior high school of Palisades. And those site level reports will show you that each school site has a lot of unique strengths and areas for growth from one another. And you can look at those. They're easy to find online. This is super accessible for the public. You can just search California Dashboard and find your school. But tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the district report. Just know that there are some differences when you start to dig into each school site. Let's do it. We're going to start with strengths. So graduation rate has always been a strength for us, and it is a strength again this year. On this first slide, I'm going to point out kind of what this data is because it'll repeat itself. This top box where you see all students, that's us. That's Calistoga. So in this case, 95.4% of our students graduated. That was an increase from last year by 1.4%. Because it's so high and it's an increase, we are in the blue. It's the highest range you can be in. The box below is comparing us to the state, which is important that we look at this with context and not in a vacuum. The state graduated 87.8% and they increased, whoa, go back, by 1%. So that's the format you're going to see on these slides. But again, this is a real strength for us. If you say, well, why not 100%? I think it is worth pointing out that we traditionally get one or more students per year who enter our school system from out of the country or from another district that simply do not have enough credits when they enter to graduate on time. So last year we had 3 students who did not graduate. 2 of those students entered into Calistoga schools as 11th or 12th graders. They did not have nearly enough credits to graduate in the years that they had with us. One of the students was ours for a longer period of time. So graduation rate. I will say Lastly, don't take it for granted. We should never take any of our successes for granted. And we'll look at some of that later tonight, that there are areas that used to be strengths for us that are no longer strengths. So we shouldn't assume that graduation rate's always going to be high. We need to stay fully committed to every student that's struggling. And if we see a student struggling early, we should do what we've always done, which is intervene early and help that student have an opportunity. All right. College and career readiness. This is, I think, maybe the most important piece of data on here. Not only are we graduating students that are prepared to go out into the world and have success? Again, an area that's been a traditional area of strength for us, and it's a strength again this year. And you can see that the junior senior high school is in the blue, and we're, 20 percentage points ahead of the state. The district metric includes Palisades and any students who graduate from a non-public school, still very strong and ahead of the state level. This is like the most complicated metric when you figure out how did they come up with that number. And students can count as being prepared using that chart. This is us, Calistoga, of our students who are prepared. How did they meet that preparedness? And you can count in any one of those areas. Some students are going to count in multiple areas. But we have a lot of students who meet the CSU requirements. And that connects with kind of the earlier issue of automatic admittance. These are students who've completed all their A to G requirements at a C- or better. We have a lot of students completing CTE pathways. And we have a lot of students who are performing really well. That's like scoring a 3 or better on 2 AP tests to be fully prepared. So really, really strong performance. And I think actually, if you look at that, we have areas for growth too. I think we can work on more college course credit access, right? Increasing state sealed by literacy. So college and career readiness is a real strength for us, and something we don't take for granted. I put a few of these in the presentation. I really like these because it gives us context, right? This is longitudinal data on us versus the state. What you get with those dotted lines, these are the COVID years. This is when data was not presented to us by the state. In this particular one, the state waited an extra year after COVID to give us data. What stands out to me is what's happened since COVID. We've got this great trajectory, right? How do we keep moving forward? I think it will become harder as we get near 100% to continue to grow. But this is great news for us. Next, we look at chronic absenteeism.
Really important story about where we're at, which is that before COVID, this was a real area of strength. We were down 5%, half the rate of chronic absenteeism as state. This is, I should say, for grades TK to 8, and it counts students who miss 10% of the instructional days of the year for the increase excuses for 9%.
Yeah, I think so. Here you go.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. Okay. Chronic absenteeism again is grades TK8, students who miss 10% or more of the days of the year for any reason, excused or unexcused. This is a real strength for us pre-COVID. I don't know if it's something we took for granted, but we were both impacted, the state and the district, by COVID in a big way. And you can see this huge jump in chronic absenteeism. Some of it makes sense. In 2022, we asked students to stay home for 10 days if they had COVID, right? Since 2022, the state and the district have made some growth. I think what's concerning is that it looks like, and we'll know more next year, but we're starting to level out, and the state's starting to level out. So is between 15 and 20% the new normal? I certainly hope not. And so we've got to work doubly hard to get this number down. We do not receive funding like many other districts do based on attendance, but that's not the point for us. The point is students learn when they are at school. It's hard for kids to learn when they're not. So this is an area where we've got to really redouble our efforts, and maybe in a way we never have before. we never had to do really unique things in 2018 and 19. Our kids just came to school. Now we need to figure out how we're going to make these efforts to get kids to be at school every day. This is chronic absenteeism by subgroup, and I'll just point out just a couple things. Students with disabilities are in the red. We don't ever like to see any group in the red. This is a conversation we'll be having with our special ed staff. How can we work with those students with their IEPs if they have needs around attendance? Long-term English learners are in the blue. That's a huge success. Suspension rate, we're at 3.2%, a little bit higher than the state. We declined. You see a graph that, you know, has some variability. We're real similar to the state. I think we've talked about this at our board meetings in the past about our small scale. We're going to get some variability because if 2 students are suspended, it's going to really move that data. So you might have a really high year or low year, but we're pretty consistent with the state. And I think in general, there's a balance to this in the sense that we want students at school, like attendance. We want students at school so they can learn. We also have an obligation to create safe and secure learning environments. There are times when a suspension is the appropriate response. There are times when suspension is the required response. So this may not go to 0, but it's something we monitor on a yearly basis. And again, long-term English learners are in the blue. Interesting that the white students, our white subgroup, is on the lower end of this when you'll see that they're on the higher end in the academic performing areas. Okay. English learner progress. This is our English learner students who take the LPAC every year in the summative LPAC, and this measures what % made progress. They went from one level to the next, level 2 to level 3, or maintained level 4. Pretty consistent with the state to start, and then we made a lot of growth, and we still are higher than the state, maybe coming down to the mean. Where I've talked about a little bit before is I'll be curious to see what happens in 2026, 27. You know, we've talked about how the state has made it more challenging to reclassify special education students. So I am a little concerned about the future data for us and the state with that change. English language arts. We are 18.6 points below the standard. The state is at about 8. We are in the orange probably because we declined. One thing I'll point out is like there's some really like educational terminology there, which is points below the standard. What does that mean? Right? And I'll do my best to explain it. Every band within the test, level 4, level 3, 2, and 1, has about 70 points in it. Right? And they take all our test scores and they say, how did that compare to the start of level 3? So if you take all our scores combined, we're just a bit lower than level 3 proficient. They used to do % proficient students, but if a student who is in level 2 makes gains but stays in level 2, it doesn't get represented in the data. So now they've just kind of combined it all together. And what you see here is we made some remarkable gains before COVID. They released the dashboard, and then 2017 to 18 and 19, we made amazing gains. We were above the state level. We were just about at level 3. And then what you see is that Calistoga was impacted by COVID more significantly than the state, right? We and the state made a decline in the year after COVID. We've both now made a slight rebound, and we have this like anomaly year in 2004. I think if you kind of level that out, we're making that steady progress with the state, which is fine to be making steady progress. But I think we recognize we've got a long way to go to get back to where we were in 2019. And I don't think anyone should be satisfied with being nearly 20 points below the standard. This is a sense of urgency that we should all have to have our students perform at standard. You look at the student subgroups, students with disabilities are in the red again. So it's a point of concern. These are mathematics scores. 46 points below the standard. The state is 42. The state improved, we maintained, which is probably why they're in the yellow, we're in the orange. If there's any good news for me in the slide, we were not as impacted by the state from the COVID years. Though we know this, right? For us and the state, we all need to do better. And it's not through lack of effort and trying, but we need to continue to be as creative and thoughtful as we can about how we improve student performance. Because we shouldn't be 46 points below the standard. Subgroups. One thing that really stood out to me here was our students with disabilities who've kind of shown up in the red a couple times on this presentation. They are in the yellow in mathematics, performing against some of our largest subgroups, Hispanic and socially economically disadvantaged. So our students with disabilities are actually performing relatively well in mathematics. And then science, a little bit of an oddity here. You know, it's different than math and English. It's only grades 5, 8, and once in high school, 5, 8, and 11 versus 3, 8, and 11. And instead of doing distance from standard, the state has chosen to do something called science points. So we're kind of trying to wrap our minds around it. Basically, a test is between your district score, your school score is between 0 and 100. So we're at about 50 along with the state. Is that good? Is it bad? I think that's what we're trying to determine over time is what meaning can we take from it? I think we want to be at 65 and 70 is where our goal should be. And then local indicators. What local indicators are is these are areas where data is not collected by the state. It's collected locally. So it's not like test scores that go to the state and then come back to us. These are just things where we collect the data. Do we have fully credentialed teachers, compliant instructional materials, good facilities? Are we engaging with parents and families? Are we administering a local climate survey? And we're doing all those things, and we've met those standards. And then lastly tonight, I want to talk a little bit about differentiated assistance. So last year we talked about how we qualified for differentiated assistance for the first time in a long time. And the way you qualify now is you have one subgroup that performs in the lowest area in red in 2 or more indicators. And we qualified by having long-term English learners in the red for suspension and English learner progress, and students with disabilities in the red for suspension in mathematics. And as a result, we are working with the county on both of those areas. We have county assistance. It's actually, it's beneficial in some ways to have that partnership. But this is an area we should monitor, right? And so if we do that, we do see we made really good progress in all of these areas. So our long-term English learners went from being in the red to the blue. Actually, I don't think any long-term English learners were suspended last year. English learner progress for LTELs went from the red to the blue. Students with disability suspension declined by 5%, red to green. In mathematics, students with disabilities went from being in the red to the yellow with an increase of 18.3 points. So these are good things in terms of these specific areas that we're monitoring closely relative to differentiated assistance. So that's my report tonight. I know that's a lot. It's a lot of data to go through in a short period of time, but I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you for that report, Michael. A lot to consider there. Thank you. Okay, so now we're on item 11, action items. Action item protocol is that action items include a staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person. And I believe we have a change in the order.
Yes, I'd like to move 11.7, which is related to our Red Willow contract for the baseball and softball fields up, because we do have 2 speakers and we'd like to be respectful of their time. So if the board is okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I have Sal Bravo, who would like to speak on 11.7 regarding the baseball field.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Salvador Bravo, and the reason that I'm here is just to ask a question and make a comment regarding the baseball field. And the concern is, as you guys know, baseball is around the corner, and what I was wondering, the baseball field and batting cages are going to be ready for the season. I know that last year that San Elena was nice enough to be able to let us use their field. But when we play over there, I feel that we don't feel like we have home field advantage. And I think hopefully you guys can make it. I know you guys are working hard. You guys already got the soccer field ready, and it's nice to be able to play here on home. Hopefully the baseball field is ready on time, because yes, going to Santa Elena, none of the residents can attend because of whatever reason, right? It's at a 15-minute drive or whatever. But when they play here, we see more attendance, and I think it's good for the community too, just so that the younger kids can come and observe, right, those games, so they can learn. They can also learn from the sidelines. But I just hope to have it ready. I'm looking for your support so we can have it ready, and so we can play here at home. So that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So I'll speak to the timeline when we do the actual line item, but I would also like to ask Coach Earl Dunkel to come up because he has also said he wants to speak. Also related to 11.7, the baseball field.
Hi, everybody. Earl Dunkel, baseball coach. First, I want to thank you guys all for doing this today. I haven't been to one of these board meetings in a long time, and all the volume of stuff you have to go through is incredible. I really appreciate all your efforts. I'm on the back of what Salvador said. I feel like I have to be here to kind of go to bat for the kids. We haven't had a baseball field in a couple of years, and I wanted to know kind of where we sat as far as a timeline, the scope of the work that they were going to do, and kind of what we could expect, if we could expect to be on our field on time. So I was told that there's going to be a contractor representative here, and I don't know. I got a lot of bad information. So I was hoping to do a little question and answer, but anyway, barring that, I was just wondering, hopefully find out if somebody had a scope of work kind of deal and a timeline. So at the very least, we could make arrangements with St. Helena like we have for the last couple of years. So that's really what I'm doing here. I'm kind of on a information search.
Okay.
So maybe somebody could tell me where to go, what to do to move things ahead. But I'd also
so just for process.
Yes.
So it's not a back and forth conversation.
Yeah.
So you're making your statement. So I'm going to answer your questions, but we're not going to have a conversation.
Okay.
But just for
Okay.
process, so you know.
Perfect.
But after tonight, I or Chris will call you tomorrow so that you can ask all the questions that you have that I don't answer tonight.
Okay.
But in relation to that, so 11.7 is an agreement with Red Willow regarding both our baseball and softball fields. Both have been impacted by the installation of our new soccer, football field and track and stadium, as well as the STEM. That's the reason we took it away to begin with. We recognize that the baseball team has been out of a field for the last 2 years. And Chris and I have made a commitment to the baseball team and have informed the contractors that they do not have an option. They must be done by February 1st because we are not going to have you go to St. Helena this next year. And so this particular contract is for repairs to both the baseball and softball field due to the ongoing work. The fields will be leveled and reseeded with new grass. They'll be redoing the irrigation. They will add additional sod if needed for the baseball field in the infield, as well as the mound being repaired. And it will be ready to play by February 1st.
That sounds fantastic. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all your efforts, and and
I'll have Chris reach out to you. He's offsite
Okay.
right now, but I will have him reach
Perfect.
out because
Yeah,
you
that
have
sounds
more
great.
detailed
I don't want
questions.
to drag this on any longer.
Yeah, no, no.
Thanks, you guys.
But yeah, I will have him reach out to you.
Okay.
Great. So the recommended action is to request to approve the agreement with Red Willow as presented.
So moved.
Okay. Wonderful. All in favor? Aye.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So I have said February 1st. I don't actually know when the first baseball game is. Can somebody tell me when the first baseball and softball game is? Okay. Thank you. February 1st. No.
February 2nd.
Till March. Okay. Okay.
Rudy had a question.
We are not installing lights. No. Do they want lights?
Here we go. Student voice, go.
No? Did you say no?
I believe for our baseball field and our softball field, we should have game lights just like the football field. It's very helpful because sometimes during baseball fields we also have softball field at the same time, so they collapse, so we don't really have as big of a crowd as other games do.
You
I
want that-
also sorry.
Go ahead.
I also would like new fencing, just because it's really messed up, but that's a different
We're
conversation.
chuckling, but we completely understand.
Yeah.
We have the same conversation.
For both of the fields, yeah. I'll talk about it more next meeting, but
I got lights, new fencing, anything else you want?
Okay, so now we'll go to 11.2, first interim financial report. Maureen Hester, Director of Business Services, will provide an overview of the district's first interim financial report, which reflects a snapshot of all budgeted revenues and expenditures from July 1, 2025 through October 31st, 2026.
Okay, another reporting period down. So I'm going to start off by saying, if I could figure out how to move this. Cynthia, which one am I pushing? Oh, it's off.
You'll just go right here.
That's what I thought I did.
Not doing it. Okay, 1 second.
So I will start with the caveat that most of this presentation, probably 90% of it, was all done by AI. And if anybody can tell you in our district office, I'm probably the one person that is objecting to learning AI. But this was so simple and so easy. We have something that we pay for through our Gemini licensing that is called Notebook LM. And it literally allowed me to upload my SACS file that gets sent to the state for state reporting. And it actually took that information and created a slide deck. And so a majority of this is AI driven. So I was very, very happy. It took me probably a quarter of the time that it would normally take me. And in addition to that, I could do other things while I was waiting for AI to do the slide deck. So pretty impressive. Okay, so our first slide is pretty much, if I had to put everything into a bucket of what we're looking at for first interim, this is it. And so we have increased our total revenue at first interim by over $1 million, $1.41 million, a total of 5.4%. With that, we have also increased expenditures over $655,000, 2.5%. We have a net position right now of a $1.29 million deficit with an ending fund balance of $12.2 million. And I will explain all of this as we move forward. But again, this is our revenue increase, our expenditure increase, our net position change, and our ending fund balance. We have higher projected revenues. They're offset by greater expenditure increases like we just talked about, and this is widening the budget deficit. So our increased revenues of 1.4 million, our expenditure increases of 655,000. We also this year have done something that is a one-time thing that will be coming back to our general fund in a couple of years, but we have sent out over $1.2 million to our Fund 40. And this is an interfund transfer that the board approved through resolution a few months back. This is for our Money Lane property and working with Brookwood Partners, now Riverside Partners, I believe. Working with them to prepare our Money Lane property for a development and sale. workforce housing. All of this combined puts a projected net decrease of $1.29 million in our general fund. Revenue growth is primarily fueled by a almost $800,000 increase in LCFF sources and a $339,000 increase in other state revenue. So in looking at LCFF, we got our P1 numbers for our property tax revenues. Those come out around November 15th. And when those came out, I was shocked and floored that instead of the projected 3.5 that we had budgeted in our budget, we are at about 7.52 in our LCFF property tax revenue increase for P1. And we'll talk about why in a couple of slides, but that's just one piece of our revenue increase. And then the other pieces in our state revenue, we have added our one-time funding that we received as a result of our state budget adoption. State budget gave us one-time funding in funds for, this is a very long one. It's called Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant. And so we received about $224,000 of those one-time funds that are now in the budget. Remember, we adopt our budget before the state adopts theirs. And so a lot of times if the state does something at the final moments, we don't put those numbers in until first interim. So now that's why we're seeing them now. The other thing the state approved was some money back to us in our learning recovery discretionary block grant funds. And these were funds that were given to us back in 22-23. The state ended up taking some away from us, and now they're giving them back to us again with strings attached, of course. And then other local revenue increased by about $283,000, and that has to do with a grant that we're getting for our wellness coordinators through Napa County Office of Education. It's called a bridge funding grant. And so we're going to see about $127,000, I think, this year in that funding for that grant. And then we also increased our interest revenue for our general fund, safety credits that we get through our JPA, and another grant that is a behavior grant that we're also getting through NCOE of about $25,000. So those are the details of our revenue growth. Let's talk about property tax revenue. So property tax is increasing 7.57%. Sorry, I said 7.52, it's 7.57. The total dollar increase is a little over $1.5 million from last year to this year. You can see that last year we increased 3.51% from the former year. And then you can also see going forward for 26, 27, and 27, 28, we're going back to the projected 3.5%. And we're doing that because there are four major property tax contributors to the 25-26 school year that are actually reflecting this increase in property taxes. And so they've just come into the property tax rolls in the 25-26 school year. We don't have that development going forward, so that's why we're going to go back to the 3.5 in the upcoming years. But the four major contributors to the property tax increase for this year is, I had to look these up today because I didn't know all of them. I knew some of them, but not all of them. The first one is the Calistoga Resilience Center, LLC. I don't know if you are aware, but the big power grid project that's happening down at the end of Washington, that is an LLC development. And so they are contributing to this property tax revenue right now. And then Calistoga Hills Resort, that is the Rose Resort that's happening up Cordham Canyon, around that area. They are now on the tax rolls, so they are contributing. Calistoga Hotel Group, I couldn't figure out by looking them up if it was Indian Springs or Motor Lodge, but they've both been doing developments, so that is part of it. And then VA Vineyard Properties. Didn't really know what that was at all, except that they own vineyard properties. And so they are now contributing to our tax rolls. So pretty significant for just a change that, from July to November, pretty significant changes for our district. On the expenditure side, we increased a little over $700,000 in professional and consulting services. That's the main driver of our expenditure variances. You can see we decreased a little bit in books and supplies, probably because some of that went over to our services. But you can see the different figures there for where we've increased. Certificated salaries went up by over 85,000, classified salaries by 123,000, employee benefits by 63,000, and then our services and other operating expenditures, 425,000. So just some of the reasons these change so significantly from when we adopt our budget to our first interim is in our salary ranges. We are doing salary adjustments. If people go out on leaves, we are filling those leaves with other people that are coming in. They might or might not take benefits. We are also increasing maybe sub costs for overall sub costs rather than what was budgeted if we know there's certain people that are going to be out for the year. I said salary adjustments, right? And then any extra time. So if we're paying for any of our staff to be working extra hours, that is also part of this. And then our benefits, we actually, out of that 63,000, about 61,000 of those are health and welfare changes. So that's just health insurance changes, increases to the district contributions for health and welfare for the beginning of this school year. And then I want to talk about services for a couple minutes. So a lot of times what happens with our services is I might not know something when I'm developing the budget. So I might leave an ending fund balance in a resource, knowing that I have to budget it when I know the right numbers. And so a lot of that is this. It's either rebudgeting of carryover from prior year, or I didn't know correct numbers and I hadn't done the budget for that yet, but it was sitting in those resources. So some examples of that are Prop 28. Prop 28 changed by about 44,000 in services. A lot of that is due to the great work of the high school and getting those after school contracts going with our DJs and dance groups and things like that. That is going to help spend all of that Prop 28 money that we have from 23-24 that we have to spend by this year. So awesome job to Monica and Marcy and getting all those contracts in place, because that takes a lot of work, and the kids are going to benefit from that. So that's great. Special ed, we increased services by about $74,000. That's just one contract with a school district for a student that came into our school that is going to another school for special ed services that we found out about after the budget was adopted. And then I talked earlier about us getting more income for our wellness coordinator. Well, we also have an expense for that. So the 120-something thousand that we're going to get for that grant, the bridge grant, we also have the expenditure side of that. We increased maintenance by a little over 10 grand. We increased scholarships by about 29,000. And then CEF has given us a little over $50,000 in CEF grants for this year, for 25-26, that we've now been able to budget. And then professional development, the board did commit a couple of years back to $200,000 of professional development. And so a lot of those services weren't dialed out yet when we adopted our budget. So we have increased the professional services side of contracts in that area. So overall deficit increase is driven by really the transfer that we're making out of general fund and going to Fund 40 for our Money Lane property. That is, again, the majority of why we are deficit spending and unrestricted this year. This is a one-time occurrence. We do deficit spend in the next year, but it's by far a lot less than what we are doing this year. And then restricted funds, they look a lot better because of all that one-time funding that the state did adopt. And now that it is in our budget, it makes our restricted funds look a lot better. A $1.27 million increase in transfers to other funds is the single largest driver of an unrestricted fund position. So you can see that that is the transfer out, that's the variance. And then you can see that almost $800,000 in LCFF sources for our income. And then professional services changing about $225,000 on the unrestricted side. And so these are just the three big pushers of the differences between budget adoption and first interim. On the restricted side, these are also the three big pushes, and professional development and consulting, almost $500,000 in restricted funds. And then other state and other local revenue also increased. This looks at our ending fund balance. We are looking at almost 2 million for ending the 25-26 school year. We have, out of that 12.1 million, we have a little over 6.5 budgeted for assigned purposes. And those are things that we're planning on doing. Things like, well, I'll talk about it on the next slide. We have a reserve for economic uncertainties of 2.88 million. That is 10% of our total expenditures in our budget. And then restricted programs is 2.22 and unassigned is a 0.49 million. This is a snapshot of our ending fund balance, looking at total revenues, total expenditures, giving our projected ending fund balance, and then our assigned category, and just talking about the three major things that we do have assigned in our ending fund balance. Modernization of classroom furniture. I have set aside $2 million for modernizing the rest of our classroom furniture throughout the district. So that includes not only all the new buildings, but also all of our standing classrooms as well. Staff retention and hire, a little over 1.6 million for the next 3 years. And then federal funding, a possible loss of 756,000. I just set that aside just so we know at a quick glance, if we were to lose all our federal funding, that's what it would look like. And that's where it would come from as our ending fund balance. And then we have about 3.36 million of unassigned and about 2.2 million of restricted. This is a look at our restricted ending fund balances. 31% of that is expanded learning opportunities. We actually operate almost a year in arrears for our ELOP program. And so that's the carryover from last year. And then other restricted local has to do with scholarships, the CEF grant. I'll get to that page so I can look at my notes. Textbook purchases, and then professional development. And then the other programs, the 450,000, that's our routine restricted maintenance, our LCFF equity multiplier for Palisades, and our Prop 28 funds. And then, of course, you can see special ed has an ending fund balance of 275,000. And then our new money, that is our discretionary one-time money, the student support SSPDDBG, almost 225,000. So we just got done talking about our general fund. We do have other funds that we take care of in the district. Adult ed, that's the ending fund balance for adult ed. Child nutrition services, we're going to end the year with a little over 245,000. Measure A and B, that's our bond fund. We're going to end the year with a little over $2 million. We are probably going to need to sell bonds again in this spring, thinking maybe around March, because we will need more than $2 million to get through next year. And so we want to make sure we have that cash in the bank for developing the 26-27 budget. Developer fees, a little over 284,000. And then Fund 35, that's our state match that we're getting for our TK building. We're going to pretty much use all of that this year. So we'll have about 47,000 left at the end of the year for that. And then Capital Outlay Fund 40, we have about 1.7 million in that fund, but there's things that haven't been encumbered yet. So that's why that is still sitting out there. This is our multi-year projection assumptions. I'm not going to go through every one of these assumptions, but it's the typical stuff. We put step and column for all of our staff in our multi-years. We take out any one-time costs that we know we have in the current year moving forward. We do have restricted resources that will be ending. Those, if we have salaries in those, they'll be moving to unrestricted. So all of those things are part of our multi-year projections for 26, 27, and 27, 28. If we look at total revenues and expenditures, you can see that we kind of stay the same with both revenues and expenditures. We deficit spend this year, we deficit spend next year, and then we're at a surplus for 27, 28. And we're at a surplus for 27, 28, not because we're reducing expenditures, but because we're going to be getting that 1.265 million back from our Fund 40. Hopefully by 27, 28, we've sold the property and we can repay our general fund. We do have good reserve levels. The state minimum is 4%. You can see that we're at a little bit above 11.65 this year, almost 12 next year, and then 14.4 in the third year. Again, that's that transfer coming back to us. The board does have board policy that states we don't want to keep our reserve minimum at 4%. We want to keep it at 10%.
I would even suggest to you that we might want to look at even making that a little bit higher, knowing we are a small school district, knowing that we are a community funded district, knowing that we only get tax revenue a couple times of the year, and we want to make sure we have adequate cash flow all year round. This is just a look at both our unrestricted and our restricted ending fund balances together. So you can see that restricted is going to be around 2.2 million for the next couple of years. And then again, our unrestricted fund will go up in 27-28 with that loan coming back to us. Why do we need strong reserves? Why are they essential for us navigating our future? They bridge funding gaps. They allow for smooth transition as one-time federal and state funds expire, preventing fiscal cliffs. You've probably read lots of articles about other school districts that are hitting that fiscal cliff right now. They're deficit spending. They don't know how they're going to make it through the next couple of years. So it's really important. If the higher reserves you have, the less volatility you have to staffing and programs. You always want to ensure you have adequate cash flow, critical for managing operations. Property tax income is only received in December and April. So you want to make sure that you still can fund payroll and fund paying your bills every month. Between payroll and paying just our normal regular bills, not construction bills, but regular bills, we are over $2 million a month for just those two things going out the door. So we are going through at least $2 million of cash every month. We want to buffer against volatility. Having higher reserves protects staffing and core educational programs from cuts during periods of economic uncertainty. And then managing risk. As a community funded district without prior year guarantee, our reserves are the primary defense against unexpected revenue shortfalls. We always want to be proactive in the way we manage in our dynamic environment. Current year dynamics are we're navigating the year with a higher than budgeted revenues and expenditures, a projected deficit of 1.3 million, primarily due to that Fund 40 transfer. Sustained financial strength. Our projected year-end fund balance is 12.2 million and reserves at 11.65% demonstrate the district's continued strong financial growth. And then we have a positive fiscal outlook. I won't lie, getting our tax revenue increased by 3-point-something% from beginning of the year till now is helping not only us this year, but it's helping us in the next 2 years as well, because that rolls forward, right? And so it is really helping our financial picture. We were deficit spending by over $1 million in that second year out. And so that does help us moving forward into the upcoming years. Multi-year projections show a clear and manageable path to ensuring long-term fiscal sustainability. Our district does need to remain diligent at monitoring all revenue and expenditure changes throughout the year, as well as keeping up with the multi-year assumptions regularly. So tonight, one of the things this is what I do on a normal basis. Michael mentioned math and textbook adoption. I don't have that in a multi-year assumption right now. So I made a note. I need to fix my multi-year assumptions to make sure that we have money budgeted for a math textbook adoption. So I'm constantly doing that. I have a multi-year projection Bible that I go into, and every time I know of any changes, I am updating that. So it does keep us proactive in what changes are being made financially to the district. And that is all I have for you. We are going to have a positive ending fund balance, not only this year, but in the next 2 years. And so recommendation is for a positive first interim. Any questions from the board?
Okay, well, if there are no questions, then thank you for that presentation, Maureen. And I'm looking for a motion to approve the first interim financial report as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to 11.3, initial sunshine proposal from CJUSD to CAT for collective bargaining negotiations. Michael.
Yeah, this represents our initial proposals, the topics that we intend to negotiate with CAT, and in general, the idea behind presenting this to the board is to present it to the public, so all parties know what will be negotiated.
Any questions? So looking for a motion to approve the proposal. All in favor?
Aye.
11.4, initial sunshine proposal from CAT to CJUSD for collective bargaining negotiations.
Yeah, Calistoga Associated Teachers just want to sunshine our proposal for negotiations this year and going into next year. Ensuring safe, stable school communities for students and staff is a high priority for Calistoga Associated Teachers. And to that end, we present you our sunshine proposal. Article 2, salary, in order to provide the best education for students by attracting and retaining quality educators. Increase salary and rates to a competitive level. Article 3, health and welfare benefits, in order to create safe school environments and support the health of employees and their loved ones. Increase the employer's contribution to employee health benefits. And Article 5, retirement options. Through collaborative communications with the district, CAT has come to an understanding that there's a shared interest in updating retirement options and incentives. Additionally, we will be negotiating the impacts of changes in working conditions presented by adoption of the dual language immersion program.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, so looking for a motion to approve the proposal as presented.
So you go.
Rudy's the second.
Rudy's the second. Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. 11.5, initial sunshine proposal from CSEA to CJUSD for collective bargaining negotiations.
Michael's going to present that.
Yes, similar to 11.4, this is CSEA's list of opening proposals for the district.
Okay, looking for a motion to receive and sunshine the CSEA initial proposal as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And 11.6, the initial sunshine proposal from CJUSD to CSEA for collective bargaining negotiations.
Yep, this is the last one. This is the district's initial proposals to CSEA, and with all these sunshine agreements, we can now begin negotiating.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve the proposal. Thank you, Laurel. Second, thank you, Rudy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 11.7. Oh, we did that one. 11.8, board policies and administrative regulations. Dr. Pittman.
So these policies were updated to reflect the most current laws, regulations, and district practices. They were presented at our November board meeting. There's been no changes from November to now. They're for board policy 0510 regarding the school accountability report card, and AR exhibits 1 and 2 for 1312.4, the Williams Uniform Complaint Procedures. So we're requesting to approve the board policies and administrative regulations as presented.
Get a motion?
I move to present or to adopt the board policies and administrative regulations as presented.
Thank you, Stefan. Yeah.
Second.
Thank you, Laurel. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. 11.9, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee applicant. Dr. Pittman.
So we have a new applicant for our Citizen Bond Oversight Committee. I think it was that fantastic article in the Tribune that got the person to. Actually, it was members of our board as well as our district business office going out there and asking people to apply to get more community involvement. And so this is Laurel Gord. She's a community member and she has applied. So we're recommending that you approve her to be an at-large position on the CBOC committee.
Great.
Think that she will be a great addition and the district is lucky to have her. So I would like to make a motion to approve.
Agreed on all accounts and Rudy.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your efforts, everyone, on that. That brings us to item 12, closing items. Board reports, anything beyond CSBA anyone wants to talk about? I have one thing that this Thursday, I know there's a lot going on already we've heard about, but this Thursday at 6 at the library, our county supervisor and Cottrell will be hosting a little holiday get together. And as your library commissioner, I'll be there. So
Yay.
anything else?
Also to piggyback on that, throughout the year, but also especially around the holidays, the library does a great job providing free activities and events for kids in our community. So they have like teddy bear making workshops, they have movie nights, they have game nights, and they're all free to all of our students and community members. So I just want to put that out there because it's a free, wonderful, kid-friendly activities that are put on. And then also to touch on next Tuesday, we're doing, or next, yes, Tuesday, dual immersion implementation planning day. So that will be very exciting. I think that's it for me, just a short one.
Thank you, Laurel.
Excuse me, may I add something? I'm sorry.
Please.
During the consent items, I didn't want to interrupt earlier. I did receive a text message from Miss Ponchin, our teacher at Palisades, who wanted to thank everyone for approving her overnight field trip. Unfortunately, she is under the weather tonight. She was planning to be here, but she is very appreciative and thankful that we'll be able to provide this opportunity for our Palisades students to go on an overnight trip and learn how to ski or snowboard. So thank you so much.
It's really exciting. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. 12.2 board meeting calendar, Tuesday, January 20th, the regular board meeting here, with open session at 6 o'clock. February 2nd, regular board meeting here, same time. March 9th, regular board meeting here, same time. 12.3 tentative future agenda items, school accountability report cards, school site safety plans, school plans for student achievement. 12.4, we have no need to reconvene to closed session, so no need to report action taken. 12.6, adjourn meeting. Looking for that motion. And anyone?
Second.
All in favor? All right. Do I get to bang the gavel now?
We haven't worked out our new dynamic. New president.